So you want us to ask these questions?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Right now at 6, taking your frustrations right to the top.
What happened that day, the day of the Marshall Fire, and why weren't people notified?
We've heard the complaints from Marshall Fire victims.
How would you describe the emergency response for you and your neighbors?
I would describe it as non-existent.
Now we're hearing from those in charge.
There's a couple of different layers to this. A lot of folks said they didn't get a notification. There's reasons for that.
Tonight, we have in-depth coverage of what went wrong that day and what's being done to make sure nothing like this happens again.
So this could happen again.
Absolutely. Not only could, it probably will.
Thank you for joining us tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm Shannon Ogden.
Good evening, I'm Ann Trujillo. Earlier this week, we shared concerns of residents living in the Sagamore neighborhood of Superior, and they say they were not alerted about the Marshall Fire. There were no sirens, no working fire hydrants.
I think a better emergency response in whatever shape or form could have bought us all more time to have escaped with pets, valuable belongings, or maybe even just shoes. Shoes would have been great that day.
So tonight, we are doing our due diligence and taking those concerns to those in charge. And we'll hear from the director of Boulder County's Office of Disaster Management in just a moment.
First, we're sharing the perspective of the Mountain View fire chief, who says this is a wake-up call. Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen asks him the tough questions about what went wrong.
I got souls in danger.
No one is questioning the bravery of first responders.
I have people there that need to be evacuated.
Who ran towards the danger. But as the smoke clears from the Marshall Fire,
No alarms, no sirens, no anything.
what survivors in Superior's Sagamore neighborhood are questioning
That day was a comedy of errors.
is why they had no notification.
As a community, all of us deserve those answers.
So you want us to ask these questions?
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Chief David Beebe is head of Mountain View Fire Protection, the first district on scene.
We're here to protect people. We get paid tax dollars to do that, and we should be accountable for that and our actions.
Firefighters will tell you, yes, hurricane force winds fueled an unprecedented firestorm. And yes, there is more to the story.
Do you think the emergency alert system fell short that day?
If our citizens and our residents believe it failed, then yes, I believe it needs to be looked at.
Copy.
Chief Beebe says his firefighters almost immediately realized the danger and notified dispatch to the need for evacuation.
So if homes are burning all along Marshall Road, why wasn't this neighborhood evacuated?
You can ask me that question 10 different ways, and I can't give you an answer right now. All I can tell you is that it's my understanding that the evacuations were asked for. Where it went from there, I can't speak to.
In the absence of evacuation notices, though, neighbors want to know why the fire engines stayed silent.
Why didn't firefighters have on sirens to alert people they needed to get out?
It's not something that we would normally do. Absolutely. We look at, well, maybe we could have done this, maybe we could have done that. You know, in the heat of the battle, you fall back on your training.
Neighbors also report seeing fire hydrants that didn't work. Beebe says power to Superior's water pump had gone out and the backup generator burned in the fire.
Could homes have been saved if you had had the water?
Based on the amount of fire, based on the winds, based on the fuel, it may have, but the consensus seems to be it probably wouldn't have mattered.
What would have mattered, he says, is better communication with Boulder County agencies on different radio systems.
Was that a problem on the Marshall Fire?
Absolutely.
Your
Absolutely.
firefighters couldn't talk?
They could talk to some people, but they can't talk to all the people. And that has been a problem as long as I've been in this business.
Are things going to change now?
That is a great question. I hope so.
Do things need to change?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope this event serve as a wake-up call.
The wake-up call, he says, that other neighborhoods are also in danger. These questions need to be answered.
So this could happen again?
Absolutely. Not only could, it probably will. I think you as the news media have a role in holding our feet to it and holding us accountable for that. My fear is that this only lasts until the next emergency, and then the focus gets lost.
Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen for us tonight. The director of the Boulder County Office of Disaster Management sat down exclusively with Denver 7 today. Director Mike Charb addressed concerns and questions about emergency notifications as well the day of the Marshall Fire and the fact that hundreds never received an evacuation notice. With that, Denver 7's Russell Haythorne helping to make sense of just what happened.
Let's start with this. What happened that day, the day of the Marshall Fire, and why weren't people notified?
Well, I can speak to the emergency alert. There's a couple of different layers to this. A lot of folks said they didn't get a notification. There's reasons for that. One is we, at the time of the fire, did not have our wireless emergency alert capability implemented.
Should it have been implemented prior to that day?
It's a fair question. I wish we had it, for sure, but we were working on it.
Director Mike Chard says Boulder has 2 notification systems. One is called Everbridge, which residents sign up for. The second is a FEMA system called iPause, which, like an Amber Alert, sends an emergency notification to everyone in a geographic polygon. Lines are drawn based on who's in danger. The county has been delayed rolling out the system because of other disasters, including the Calwood fire, the COVID crisis, and the Boulder King Super shooting.
You've been delayed because of those?
Exactly, Russell. So I had no idea we would be experiencing the year we were in 2020.
What about those who will watch this interview and say, you can't blame other disasters for not having this piece implemented?
Yeah.
Is that a fair question, Mike? And
absolutely.
Why wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a fair question, and it's about capacity. You're running disasters, or you can't sit here and build a new capability while you're trying to take care of all the life safety issues in our county. Those are substantial reasons why there were delays built in over the 2020 year and into 2021.
Chard says the system also isn't perfect. In evacuations, it could create a bottleneck on the roads if implemented too broadly.
There needs to be space for people to go towards to get away from here. If everyone is evacuating at the exact same time, and sometimes that's going to happen because the area needs to be very large, but they're at the risk. If there's no space to push people, everyone gets blocked right here as this hazard's moving into them. Not making an excuse of why the whole story begins with everyone deserves to get, and rightfully so, should get an evacuation order, regardless of what phone you have, whether you're opted in, whether you're in a landline. That's our goal here in Boulder County. Will be after this system. It has been before. And that's what we're driving towards.
So with that in mind, was this emergency a failure? Or was it a success?
Yeah.
2 people did lose their lives.
Absolutely.
And there must be regrets for that.
Absolutely. So success or failure, I'd like to say we're fortunate. Time of day, nighttime evacuations always go worse.
Now, Russell spent about 30 minutes interviewing the director of Boulder's Office of Disaster Management. Obviously, we don't have time to share the whole conversation. So we will have this interview posted in full on our website, thedenverchannel.com.